The conference room in the Imperial Palace was massive, stretching nearly 100 meters across. Emperor Vakthor sat on his throne at the center, his four eyes scanning the holographic display that floated before him. Around him, his war council waited in silence. They knew better than to speak before their emperor did. The hologram showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. It looked peaceful, almost beautiful. Vakthor had seen thousands of such planets in his lifetime. He had conquered most of them. This world, Vakthor finally spoke, his voice deep and rumbling. What do we know about it? His chief strategist, Nalket, stepped forward. The thin alien pressed a control on his wrist device, and new information appeared on the display. The inhabitants call it Earth, Great Emperor. Our scout ships detected primitive radio transmissions approximately 100 cycles ago. Further investigation confirms they have achieved nuclear fission and basic spaceflight. Vakthor leaned back. Level 2 civilization, barely worth our attention. Indeed, Great Emperor, Nalket continued. However, the planet is rich in resources. Water covers most of its surface. Heavy metals are abundant in the crust, and the population, approximately 7 billion, would provide excellent labor for our mining operations. Another council member, Commander Zekran, stepped forward. He was a warrior, scarred from countless battles. Great Emperor, I request the honor of leading this conquest. My fleet has been idle too long. We hunger for glory. Vakthor studied the commander. Zekran was ambitious but capable. He had never failed a mission. Very well, Commander. Take 300 ships. That should be more than sufficient for such primitives. Zekran bowed deeply. You honor me, Great Emperor. I will bring you this world within 10 planetary rotations. See that you do, Vakthor said. Dismissed. The council filed out, already making preparations. None of them gave the small blue planet a second thought. It was just another conquest, just another world to add to the empire. They had done this 10,000 times before. Far across the galaxy, Earth spun peacefully in its orbit. The sun was rising over the North American continent. In a fortified bunker deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, red lights suddenly began flashing. Colonel Pete Harris was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started. He dropped his cup and ran to the main control room. Dozens of technicians sat at their stations staring at their screens with worried faces. Report, Harris demanded. A young analyst, Amy Brooks, turned to face him. Her face was pale. Sir, we have multiple contacts entering the heliosphere. Unknown configuration. Speed suggests faster than light capability. Harris felt his stomach drop. This was what they had been preparing for, what they had feared for 70 years. How many? Initial count shows approximately 300 vessels, sir. They're big, much bigger than anything we've seen before. Harris grabbed the nearest phone. It was a direct line to the White House. This is Colorado Mountain. We have a situation. Multiple unknown vessels entering the solar system. I need to speak with the president immediately. Within minutes, President Jake Morrison was on the line. Colonel Harris, confirm your report. Mr. President, we have 300 unknown vessels approaching Earth. Based on their trajectory and speed, they'll reach us in approximately 72 hours. There was a pause. Then Morrison spoke, his voice calm but firm. Initiate Protocol Sentinel, contact all defense commanders. I'm convening an emergency meeting with the Security Council in 1 hour. Yes, Mr. President. Harris hung up and turned to his team. You heard the man. Protocol Sentinel is now active. Contact all stations. Wake up everyone who's off duty. This is not a drill. The bunker, known publicly as a defunct military installation, suddenly came alive. Hidden elevators descended deeper into the earth, revealing levels that officially did not exist. Thousands of military personnel rushed to their stations. Equipment that had been maintained in secret for decades powered up for the first time. In Washington, President Morrison walked quickly through the corridors of the White House. His chief of staff, Danny Price, struggled to keep up. Sir, we're contacting world leaders now. The Chinese premier and Russian president are standing by for a secure conference. The European Union is convening an emergency session. Morrison nodded. Good. What about Dr. Warren? She's already en route. Her helicopter should arrive in 15 minutes. Morrison entered the Situation Room. It was already filling with military leaders and intelligence chiefs. General Kate Sullivan stood near a large display screen showing a map of the solar system. Red dots marked the approaching alien fleet. "General," Morrison said, "what are we looking at?" Sullivan was a veteran of 30 years. She had been read into the Aurora project 10 years ago and had spent every day since preparing for this moment. "Mr. President, the contacts are maintaining a steady approach vector. No attempts to hide, no evasive maneuvers. They're coming straight for us." Admiral Ben Carter, head of the Earth Defense Force, added his assessment. "Mr. President, their behavior suggests confidence. They don't think we're a threat." Morrison allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Let them think that." The door opened and Dr. Lisa Warren entered. She was in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She carried a tablet and looked exhausted, as if she had not slept in days. In truth, she had not. Her team had been tracking the alien fleet since it entered the outer solar system. "Dr. Warren," Morrison greeted her. "Please tell me we're ready." Warren set her tablet on the conference table. "Mr. President, we're more than ready. The Aurora project has been preparing for this scenario for 7 decades. Every simulation we've run suggests we have overwhelming superiority." She tapped her tablet, and a new display appeared on the main screen. It showed complex technical readouts and specifications. "Our analysis of the approaching fleet indicates they're using plasma-based weapons and conventional energy shields. Their faster-than-light drives are based on spatial compression, which is effective, but crude." "Compared to our technology?" Morrison asked. "Sir, compared to our technology, they might as well be throwing rocks. Our quantum disruptors will cut through their shields like they're not even there. Our dimensional shields will make their weapons completely ineffective. And our jump drives can put our ships anywhere we want them in seconds." General Sullivan leaned forward. "Dr. Warren, you're confident in these assessments?" Warren met her gaze. "General, we've had 70 years to study alien technology. The probe that crashed in Nevada in 1947 gave us the foundation. Since then, we've intercepted communications, recovered debris from other alien conflicts, and dedicated our best minds to understanding and improving on what we found. Humanity didn't just copy alien technology, we made it better." Morrison looked around the room. "Recommendations?" Admiral Carter spoke first. "Mr. President, I recommend we allow them to commit to an attack. Let them get close. Let them show their hand. Then we demonstrate exactly what humanity is capable of." "You want to let them shoot first?" Morrison asked. "Yes, sir. If we strike preemptively, other alien powers might see us as aggressors. But if we defend ourselves after being attacked, we establish Earth as a power that will not be bullied, but does not seek unnecessary conflict." Morrison considered this. Around the world, other leaders were having similar conversations. The Aurora project was not an American program. It was humanity's program. Every major nation contributed. Every major nation had a say. "Very well," Morrison decided. "We let them come. We let them make their threat. And then we show them why Earth has never been conquered and never will be." Over the next 72 hours, the world transformed. To the public, everything seemed normal. News programs reported on politics, sports, and weather. People went to work. Children went to school. But beneath the surface, humanity prepared for war. In underground facilities across the globe, massive doors slid open. In Nevada, 12 enormous warships rose from caverns carved into the bedrock. Each ship was 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could tear apart planets. These were the dreadnoughts of the Earth Defense Force, built in secret over decades. Captain Nicole Hayes stood on the bridge of the EDF Valkyrie. She had trained her entire adult life for this moment. Around her, a crew of 300 worked at their stations, running final checks on every system. Captain, her executive officer, Commander Ryan Foster, reported, "All systems are green. Jump drive is calibrated. Quantum disruptors are charging. Dimensional shields are ready." Nicole nodded. "Good. Keep everyone sharp. When we go fast." On the moon's far side, Hidden in a crater that satellites never photographed, the lunar base activated its gravity cannons. Major Alex Turner supervised the final preparations. The cannons could disable ships without destroying them, perfect for what Admiral Carter had planned. Around Earth's orbit, what appeared to be simple weather and communication satellites reconfigured themselves. Panels slid aside, revealing weapon systems. The orbital defense grid had been disguised for decades, looking like harmless civilian infrastructure. Now it showed its true purpose. In Norway, Dr. Warren stood in a control center carved into a mountain. Around her, hundreds of technicians monitored the most powerful. The alien ultimatum played on every screen across the planet. In coffee shops, people stopped talking and stared. In schools, teachers tried to calm frightened children. In government buildings, officials pretended to panic while secretly following carefully planned protocols. President Morrison appeared on television exactly 1 hour after the alien message. He looked appropriately concerned but calm. "My fellow citizens and citizens of the world, we have received a message from an alien civilization. This is a historic moment but also a challenging one. I want to assure everyone that your governments are working together to address this situation. Please remain calm. Stay in your homes. We will get through this together." It was a performance carefully scripted. The goal was simple: make the aliens think Earth was exactly what they expected: scared, primitive, helpless. In his flagship, Commander Zekran watched the broadcast with satisfaction. The human leader looked appropriately frightened. Good. Fear made conquest easier. Status of their defensive systems? Zekran asked his tactical officer. "Minimal, Commander. We detect some basic radar installations, primitive missile systems in various locations. Nothing that could threaten even a single one of our ships." Zekran nodded. "As expected. Begin moving the fleet into siege formation. I want weapons ready to strike the moment their surrender deadline expires." The Krithian fleet spread out across Earth's orbital space. Their formation was textbook. Large ships at the center, smaller vessels forming a perimeter. Weapons pointed at the planet below. Shields were at minimum power to conserve energy. Why waste power on shields when the enemy had no real weapons? What the Krithians could not see were the ships watching them. Major Alex Turner sat in the cockpit of his stealth fighter, the Shadow 7. He floated in space less than 10 kilometers from the nearest Krithian vessel. His ship's quantum stealth system bent light and energy around him, making him effectively invisible. "Command, this is Shadow 7, Alex whispered into his communicator, even though no one could hear him in space. "Enemy formation is complete. Shields are at approximately 20% power. Weapon systems are warming up but not at full charge. They're overconfident." Back in Colorado, Colonel Harris relayed the information. "All stations, enemy is in position. They're not taking us seriously. Maintain radio silence. Do not activate any systems that might alert them." Across the world, hidden installations waited. In Nevada, the massive underground hangar holding the 12 dreadnoughts remained sealed. The ships were ready, their crews at their stations, but they stayed hidden. In Norway, Dr. Warren's quantum disruptors remained powered down, appearing as nothing more than empty bunkers to any scans. On the moon, Major Turner's counterpart, Captain Lucy Grant, supervised the lunar base. "Keep those gravity cannons cold," she ordered. "Not a single energy spike. Let them think the moon is just a dead rock." The orbital platforms disguised as satellites continued their normal operations. They transmitted weather data. They relayed communications. They did everything regular satellites did. The weapon systems hidden inside stayed completely dormant. At the United Nations building in New York, an emergency session convened. Ambassadors from every nation stood and gave speeches about the need for peace, for negotiation, for finding common ground with the aliens. It was all theater. Every ambassador knew the truth. But the aliens were listening, and the aliens needed to believe humanity was desperate. Ambassador Laura Martinez of the United States stood at the podium. "We must consider our options carefully," she said, her voice carrying just the right amount of fear. "These beings have technology beyond our understanding. Perhaps we should consider their offer. Perhaps surrender is our only option." In orbit, Krithian communication officers translated and relayed these speeches to Commander Zekran. He smiled, if the expression could be called that on his alien face. "They debate surrender," he told his bridge crew. This will be even easier than I thought. But not everyone in the Crithian fleet was so confident. Nalkit, the science officer, studied his sensor readings with growing concern. Something felt wrong. He ran scan after scan of the planet below. "Commander," Nalkit said carefully, "I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures." Zekron barely looked up. "Explain." "The planet's electromagnetic field shows minor fluctuations. Nothing threatening, but unusual for a level 2 civilization. They're probably scrambling their primitive electronics in panic," Zekron dismissed. "Focus on real threats, not sensor ghosts." Nalkit wanted to argue but knew better. The commander was not interested in caution. He wanted glory. Still, the science officer kept scanning. The feeling that something was not right would not leave him. He was correct to be worried. The energy fluctuations he detected were not panic. They were the massive power systems beneath Earth's surface running final calibrations. The quantum reactors that powered humanity's weapons were being tested one last time. But the tests were done carefully, releasing only tiny amounts of energy. Just enough to ensure everything worked, but not enough to alarm the enemy. In the White House Situation Room, President Morrison watched the countdown clock. 23 hours until the alien deadline expired. 23 hours to maintain the deception. "Status of our forces?" he asked. General Sullivan pulled up a display. "All 12 dreadnoughts are ready for immediate deployment. Jump coordinates are locked in. The orbital platforms can activate their weapon systems in less than 3 seconds. Lunar cannons are ready. Ground-based disruptors are charged and waiting." Admiral Carter added, "Our pilots are in position. We have 50 stealth fighters like Shadow 7 scattered throughout the enemy fleet. They can't see us, but we have eyes on every one of their ships." Dr. Warren joined the conversation via video link from Norway. "Mr. President, I want to emphasize what we're about to do. Our weapons are designed to minimize casualties while maximizing the message. The quantum disruptors can be calibrated to disable rather than destroy. I recommend we use that setting." Morrison considered this. "Admiral? Your thoughts?" "I agree with Dr. Warren, sir. We want to send a message, not commit genocide. We disable their fleet. We show them how outmatched they are. Then we send them home to tell everyone else what happened." "Make it so," Morrison ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. Unless they force our hand." Around the world, final preparations continued. In Australia, another hidden base activated its systems. This one housed the planetary shield generators. Captain Roy Henderson supervised the enormous machines. Each generator was the size of an office building, buried deep underground. Together, they could project a shield around the entire planet. "Running final tests," Henderson reported to his superiors. "Shield generators are operating at peak efficiency. We can maintain full planetary coverage for approximately 72 hours before needing to recharge." "Excellent," came the response. "Stand by for activation on my mark." 16 hours before the deadline, Commander Zekron grew impatient. "I'm tired of waiting," he announced. "Begin moving into attack positions. I want to be ready to strike the moment their time expires." The Crithian fleet adjusted its formation. Ships moved closer to the planet. Weapon systems powered up to full charge. Energy shields increased to combat levels. The commander wanted to be ready to demonstrate his power the instant he could. In his stealth fighter, Alex Turner watched the enemy ship nearest to him power up its weapons. "Command, enemy weapons are going hot. They're preparing to fire." "Copy that, Shadow 7. Maintain position. Everyone hold." It was agony for Alex. He could see the massive plasma cannons on the alien ship charging. Those weapons were aimed at Earth, at his home, at his family. Every instinct screamed at him to do something. But his orders were clear. Wait. 10 hours before the deadline, the public panic that had been carefully staged reached its peak. News channels showed crowds gathering in cities. Some people prayed. Others protested, demanding their governments do something, anything. None of them knew the truth. None of them knew that beneath their feet, in hidden bases they had never heard of, the most powerful military force ever assembled by humanity waited for the order to strike. 5 hours before the deadline, Zekron recorded his final message. "Humans of Earth," he began, "your time is nearly expired. I see you have made no effort to surrender. You have activated no defensive systems. You have launched no attacks. This confirms what we already knew. You are helpless. When your time expires, we will demonstrate our power. We will destroy one of your major cities as an example. Then you will surrender. Or we will destroy another, and another, until you learn your place. The message was broadcast across all Earth channels. In living rooms across the planet, people watched in horror. They did not know it was exactly what their leaders wanted. 1 hour before the deadline, President Morrison made his move. He sent a message directly to Commander Zekran. It was text only, brief and simple. "You have made a mistake. Leave now while you still can." Zekran laughed when he read it. "The primitive threatens us," he told his bridge crew. "How amusing. This will make the conquest even more satisfying." He sent a response. "We do not make mistakes. Prepare to witness the power of the Crithian Empire." 30 minutes before the deadline, Admiral Carter gave the preliminary. The deadline expired. Commander Zekran did not hesitate. "All ships fire on primary targets. Let them see what happens to those who defy the Crithian Empire." 300 warships unleashed their fury. Plasma cannons erupted in brilliant streams of superheated matter. Missile tubes launched their payloads by the thousands. Energy beams lanced toward the blue planet below. It was enough firepower to sterilize a continent. The attack struck Earth's atmosphere and stopped. Simply stopped. A shimmer appeared around the entire planet like heat waves on a summer day. The plasma dissipated harmlessly. The missiles exploded against an invisible barrier. The energy beams scattered into space like light through a prism. On his bridge, Zekran stared in disbelief. "What is that?" "Nalket, report." The science officer's hands flew across his controls, his multiple eyes wide with shock. "Commander, they have a planetary shield. But this is impossible. The energy signature is reading as quantum-based barrier technology. No Level 2 civilization should possess this. No Level 5 civilization should possess this." "Then your readings are wrong," Zekran snapped. "Recalibrate and fire again." But before the fleet could fire a second volley, every sensor on every Crithian ship began screaming warnings. Space itself seemed to tear open in 12 locations around the fleet. Massive ships appeared from nowhere, materializing through rifts in reality. Nicole Hayes felt the familiar lurch of a jump transition. One moment, the Valkyrie was in its underground hangar in Nevada. The next, it floated in space 5 kilometers from the Crithian flagship. Around her ship, 11 other dreadnoughts appeared in perfect formation. "Jump complete," Commander Ryan Foster reported. "All systems nominal. Quantum disruptors charged. Dimensional shields active." Nicole opened a shipwide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. Today we show the galaxy what humanity can do. Make every shot count." On Zekran's bridge, chaos erupted. Alarms blared. Officers shouted reports over each other. The commander could not process what he was seeing. 12 human ships had just appeared from nowhere. But that was not what terrified him. It was the power readings. "Commander," Nalket's voice shook. "Each of those ships is outputting more energy than our entire fleet combined. This is not possible. This cannot be real." Admiral Carter sat in his command chair aboard the EDF Titan, the flagship of the human fleet. He looked at the Crithian formation on his display. They were in disarray, confused and frightened. "Good." He opened a channel to the enemy fleet. His voice was calm, almost casual. "Crithian ships, this is Admiral Ben Carter of the Earth Defense Force. You have attacked our world. You have threatened our people. You have 10 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. There will be no second warning." Zekran felt rage replace his shock. How dare these primitives threaten him? He had conquered 1,000 worlds. He would not be intimidated by 12 ships, no matter how impressive their entrance. "All ships, focus fire on the nearest human vessel. Destroy it and show them we do not fear their tricks." 300 Crithian warships turned their weapons on the Valkyrie. Nicole saw them locking on. "Here they come," she said calmly. "Maintain position. Shields to full power." The Crithian fleet fired everything. It was a magnificent, terrible display of power. Enough energy to vaporize a small moon converged on a single human ship. And nothing happened. The attack simply vanished. They did not bounce off. They did not explode against shields. They just ceased to exist as if they had never been fired at all. The Valkyrie floated serenely, completely untouched. Ryan Foster checked his display. "Dimensional shields performing perfectly, Captain. They're phasing all incoming fire into parallel dimensions. Not a single shot is even reaching our hull." Nicole allowed herself a small smile. "Return fire." Single disruptor pulse. "Let's show them what real weapons look like." The Valkyrie's main cannon fired. It made no sound, of course, in the vacuum of space, but if it had, it would have been a sound of pure destruction. A beam of quantum energy, barely visible to the naked eye, lanced out from the human ship. The beam struck a Krithian cruiser. The ship's shields, which the Krithians thought were state-of-the-art, offered no resistance at all. The quantum disruptor tore through matter at the subatomic level, breaking the bonds that held atoms together. The cruiser simply ceased to exist, converted into harmless energy. But the beam did not stop. It passed through the first ship and struck a second, then a third, then a fourth. 15 Krithian ships vanished in less than 2 seconds, leaving nothing behind. Not wreckage, not debris, just empty space. The Krithian fleet froze. On every bridge, officers and crew members stared in horror at what they had just witnessed. 15 ships, gone, erased, and the human ship that had fired still floated there, completely undamaged. Admiral Carter's voice came through again. That was a warning shot. Power down now, or we will disable every ship in your fleet. Zekran could not speak. He could not think. His entire understanding of warfare, of technology, of the galaxy itself had just shattered. These were not primitives. These were not level 2. They were something else entirely. Commander, Nalket whispered, we must retreat. We cannot win this fight, but it was too late for retreat. Before Zekran could give the order, the human orbital platforms activated. Around Earth, hundreds of satellites suddenly revealed their true nature. Weapon ports opened. Energy signatures spiked. Captain Roy Henderson, commanding the ground-based shield generators, watched his displays. Orbital platforms are online. They're locking onto enemy ships. In orbit, the platforms unleashed gravity nets. These were not physical nets, but fields of twisted space-time. Krithian ships that tried to flee suddenly found they could not move. Their engines screamed at full power, but they stayed locked in place as if caught in invisible chains. On the moon, Lucy Grant gave her order. Lunar cannons acquire targets. Disable their propulsion only. We want prisoners, not bodies. The gravity cannons fired. These weapons manipulated gravitational fields, creating localized distortions that could crush or disable enemy systems. Precision strikes hit the engine sections of Krithian ships. One after another, vessels went dark as their propulsion systems failed. Alex Turner in his stealth fighter had a front-row seat to the destruction. Command, enemy fleet is paralyzed. Most ships have lost engine power. Several are attempting to launch escape pods. Copy that, Shadow 7. All fighters move to intercept those pods. Tractor them into cargo holds. We want prisoners for interrogation. Dr. Warren watched from her control center in Norway. The quantum disruptor network remained at full power but had not fired. It had not needed to. The battle, if it could be called that, was already over. She checked her chronometer. 4 minutes and 17 seconds. That was how long it had taken to neutralize the entire Krithian invasion fleet. 4 minutes. And not a single human ship had taken damage. Not a single human life had been lost. Nicole Hayes surveyed the battlefield from the Valkyrie's bridge. Disabled Krithian ships floated everywhere. Some were completely dark, their crews unconscious or in shock. Others had emergency systems running, keeping life support active but nothing else. Captain, Ryan reported, we're receiving surrender signals from multiple enemy vessels. They're requesting mercy. Nicole looked at the alien ships. Part of her felt pity. They had come expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had encountered something they could not comprehend. Relay to Admiral Carter. Let him decide. Carter received the reports on the Titan. Around him, his bridge crew worked efficiently, cataloging the disabled ships and coordinating recovery operations. All ships cease fire. Prepare boarding parties. We're going to secure every enemy vessel and take their crews into custody, President. Morrison watched the battle from the Situation Room. The whole engagement had been broadcast in real time to every world leader. Now he addressed them via secure link. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just witnessed Earth's true military capability. The alien threat has been neutralized. No human casualties. Minimal damage to enemy vessels. Now comes the harder part. We must decide what to do next. The Chinese premier spoke first. Mr. President, this changes everything. We can no longer hide. The galaxy knows we exist. They know we are strong. The Russian president agreed. And they will fear us. Fear can be useful, but it can also make enemies. Morrison nodded. That's why our next actions are so important. General Sullivan, begin recovery operations. I want every alien ship secured. I want every crew member alive and unharmed. We're not barbarians. On Zekron's flagship, human soldiers appeared in flashes of light. They used personal teleporters, another technology the Crithians did not possess. The soldiers wore armor that made them look more like machines than men. They carried weapons but held them at ready positions, not actively threatening. Lieutenant Kevin Murphy led the boarding party. He found the bridge easily and saw the alien commander standing there, still in shock. "Commander Zekron, I presume. You're under arrest. Order your crew to stand down and no one will be harmed." Zekron looked at the human soldier. The alien commander was twice Murphy's size, but he felt small. He felt helpless. "We surrender," he said quietly. "Please mercy for my crew," Murphy nodded. "You'll all be treated fairly. Now please gather your bridge." 6 weeks after the battle, the galaxy was in chaos. The tactical data from Earth's victory had spread like wildfire through every communication network. Trade routes buzzed with the news. Diplomatic channels overflowed with speculation. The entire galactic order, which had stood for thousands of years, was crumbling. The Crithian Empire fell first. Within days of the surviving fleet returning home, rebellions erupted on every conquered world. The subject populations had lived in fear for generations, believing the Crithians were invincible. Now they knew the truth. The Crithians were just another species with weapons. And those weapons were not special. Emperor Vakthor sat on his throne and watched his empire dissolve. World after world declared independence. His military commanders reported that their fleets were defecting, officers choosing to join the rebels rather than fight for a lost cause. The great empire that had ruled 10,000 worlds was dying, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. On Earth, President Morrison watched the galactic news with mixed feelings. The Crithian collapse was not unexpected, but the speed and violence of it was troubling. Civil wars erupted across former Crithian space. Billions of lives were in danger. "Mr. President," General Sullivan said during their morning briefing, "we're receiving requests for assistance. Multiple rebel groups are asking Earth to intervene in Crithian space. They want our help establishing new governments." Morrison shook his head. "We're not becoming galactic police. That's not what we revealed ourselves for. However," he paused, considering, "if we do nothing, millions could die in these civil wars. Recommendations?" Admiral Carter pulled up a star map. "Mr. President, I suggest limited humanitarian intervention. Send medical ships, food, supplies, help the refugees, but no military action unless absolutely necessary." "Agreed," Morrison decided. "Contact the rebel leaders. Tell them we'll help with humanitarian aid, but they need to solve their political problems themselves." While Earth dealt with the Crithian collapse, other galactic powers were having their own reactions. The Vortan Collective, another aggressive empire, immediately canceled all their planned military operations. Their Supreme Council met in emergency session to discuss the implications of Earth's technology. "We must assume the humans have scouts watching us," High Counselor Trenmar told his colleagues. "Any aggressive action could be seen as a threat. We must appear peaceful until we understand them better." The collective, which had been planning to invade 3 systems in the coming months, suddenly became peaceful. Trade envoys were prepared instead of invasion fleets. It was a remarkable transformation, driven entirely by fear. Other empires made similar calculations. The galaxy had operated on a simple principle: the strong conquered the weak. Suddenly there was a new strongest power and no one wanted to test it, but not all aliens reacted with fear. The Galactic Council, a loose alliance of peaceful civilizations, saw opportunity. For centuries they had been unable to stop aggressive empires. They lacked military strength and had to watch helplessly as stronger powers bullied smaller worlds. Now finally, there was a power strong enough to change things. Counselor Tarvin of the Aelis Confederation convened an emergency council session. Representatives from 47 peaceful civilizations attended, either in person or via hologram. The topic was simple: how to approach Earth. "We must be careful," Tarvin began. "The humans have shown they possess overwhelming military power, but we do not yet know their intentions. Are they just another empire, more powerful but equally aggressive, or are they different?" Ambassador Felrin from the Quellan Unity spoke next. "I have studied the available information on Earth. Their actions following the battle are instructive. They did not destroy the Crithian fleet. They disabled it. They took prisoners but treated them well. They sent the survivors home with a message rather than using them as slaves or hostages. That could be strategy, another counselor argued. Show mercy to one enemy to frighten others. Perhaps, Felrin agreed. But I note also that humans appear to have a concept they call humanitarian aid. They are already sending supplies to former Crithian worlds. Medical assistance, food, not as payment, not as tribute, but simply because people need help. The council debated for hours. Finally, they reached a decision. They would send a delegation to Earth. They would offer peaceful contact and see how humanity responded. On Earth, Ambassador Laura Martinez received the message from the Galactic Council. She brought it immediately to President Morrison. Mr. President, we have first contact from a peaceful group. The Galactic Council represents 47 civilizations. They're asking permission to send a delegation. Morrison looked at the message. This was it. The moment that would define Earth's relationship with the galaxy. How long until they could arrive? 3 weeks, sir. Very well. Prepare a response. Tell them they are welcome. And Laura, start preparing a protocol for diplomatic contact. We need to do this right. While preparations for the council delegation proceeded, Dr. Warren and her team worked on another project. They were interrogating Crithian prisoners, not with torture or threats, but with simple questions. The aliens, grateful to be alive, answered freely. Colonel Pete Harris sat across from a Crithian officer named Velkin. The alien had been a navigation specialist on one of the destroyed cruisers. He had survived by sheer luck being in an escape pod when his ship was hit. Tell me about the galaxy, Harris said. How many aggressive empires are there? Velkin considered the question. Many. The Crithians were perhaps the largest, but far from the only one. The Vortens, the Trell Dominion, the Scarlix Horde, dozens more. They conquer. They enslave. It is the way of things. And peaceful civilizations? They hide. They band together in weak alliances like the Galactic Council. They survive by being too small to bother with or by paying tribute to stronger powers. Harris made notes. What would happen if a powerful civilization actually protected the peaceful ones instead of conquering them? Velkin's eyes widened. That has never happened. Power is always used for conquest. It is natural law. Maybe, Harris said quietly. Or maybe that's just how things have been. Not how they have to be. Back in the Situation Room, Morrison reviewed reports from around the world. The public was still adjusting to the revelation that aliens existed and that humanity was far more advanced than anyone had known. There were protests, of course. Some people felt betrayed that their governments had hidden so much. Others were angry that so many resources had been spent in secret. But mostly people were proud. Humanity had faced an existential threat and won decisively. The Aurora Project, once secret, was now celebrated. Dr. Warren became a household name, though she disliked the attention. Pilots like Nicole Hayes and Alex Turner were treated as heroes. How's the public mood? Morrison asked his chief of staff, Danny Price. Better than expected, sir. The initial shock is wearing off. People are actually excited about being part of a galactic community. There's talk of civilian space travel becoming available. Trade with alien worlds. Cultural exchange, Morrison nodded. That's good, because I'm about to make it official. He scheduled a press conference for the following day. News networks across the world carried it live. Morrison stood at the podium looking calm and confident. My fellow citizens of Earth, he began. 6 weeks ago, our world faced an invasion. An alien empire sought to conquer us, to enslave us, to take everything we have built. They believed we were weak. They were wrong. He paused, letting that sink in. Our victory was not luck. It was the result of 70 years of preparation. 70 years of the finest minds from every nation working together. 70 years of cooperation, innovation, and dedication to a single goal, ensuring that humanity would never be conquered. Morrison pulled up a hologram showing the solar system. Today, I am announcing the formation of the United Earth Government. This is not a replacement for national governments, but a coordination body for our species as we enter the galactic community. We will speak with one voice to the stars while maintaining our diversity and independence at home. He continued, I am also announcing that Earth claims sovereignty over our solar system and a buffer zone of 50 light-years in all directions. This space is now Earth territory. Any unauthorized entry will be considered an act of aggression. However, we welcome peaceful contact. We welcome trade. We welcome friendship with any civilization that approaches us with respect. The announcement caused celebration in some quarters and concern in others, but most people simply felt relief. Earth had a plan. Earth had leadership. Earth was ready for whatever came next. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council delegation arrived. Their ships were smaller than the Crithian warships had been, clearly civilian vessels designed for trade and diplomacy rather than combat. They stopped at the edge of Earth's claimed space and waited for permission to approach. Admiral Carter personally escorted them in with a small fleet of human ships. Not as a threat, but as honor guard. The alien delegates were taken to a newly constructed orbital station called Genesis 1. It had been built in just 3 weeks, a demonstration of Earth's construction capabilities that impressed the visitors greatly. Ambassador Martinez greeted them in the station's main conference hall. Counselor Tarvin led the delegation. But not everyone was happy. Some people worried that Earth was taking on too much responsibility. Others feared that eventually, humanity would become the same kind of empire they had defeated. President Morrison addressed these concerns in a speech to the United Nations. "I understand the worries," he said. "Power corrupts, as the saying goes, and we have tremendous power. But we also have something most galactic empires never had: accountability. We have a free press. We have elections. We have citizens who question our decisions. That accountability is what will keep us honest." He continued, "We did not ask to become a galactic power, but we are one now, and we must accept that responsibility, not to conquer, not to control, but to ensure that the galaxy becomes a place where all civilizations can thrive in peace." The speech was well received, both on Earth and throughout Council space. Morrison's approval ratings remained high. More importantly, the public supported Earth's role in the galaxy. They were proud of what humanity had become. 6 months after Morrison's speech, a breakthrough occurred. Dr. Warren's research team, working with alien scientists, developed a new type of faster-than-light drive. It was twice as efficient as previous designs and could be built at a fraction of the cost. The team immediately shared the design with all council members. "Why give it away?" Chris Miller, Warren's assistant, asked. "We could have kept it secret, maintained our ad valorem." 6 months had passed since the battle that changed the galaxy. Captain Nicole Hayes stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie, looking at the star map display. Her ship was no longer hidden in an underground bunker. It patrolled openly alongside ships from the Ielis Confederation and 3 other council species. Together they were on their way to the Quellen system, responding to a distress call. "Captain," Commander Ryan Foster reported, "we're receiving an update from Quellen Command. The Raider fleet consists of approximately 20 ships, former Crithian military vessels that went rogue after the Empire collapsed." Nicole nodded. These raiders were a growing problem. When the Crithian Empire fell, many military officers had taken their ships and turned to piracy. They attacked weakly defended worlds, stealing resources and technology. The Galactic Council had asked Earth for help dealing with them. "ETA to Quellen?" Nicole asked. 14 minutes at current speed, Captain." "Good. Contact our Council allies. Tell them to stay back and provide support only. We'll handle the raiders." The Valkyrie dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Quellen system. Nicole immediately saw the situation. 20 Crithian warships, smaller than the ones that had attacked Earth but still dangerous, surrounded a peaceful mining colony on Quellen's 3rd moon. They were clearly preparing to attack. Nicole opened a channel. "Raider vessels, this is Captain Nicole Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning." The raiders' response was predictable. They opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the Valkyrie. Nicole did not even bother to maneuver. The dimensional shields phased the attacks away harmlessly. "Return fire," Nicole ordered. "Disabling shots only." The Valkyrie's weapons, calibrated to disable rather than destroy, struck with precision. Within minutes, all 20 raider ships were dead in space, their crews alive but their vessels powerless. Council security forces moved in to take custody of the raiders, while the Valkyrie stood watch. It was efficient. It was professional. And it sent a clear message. Attacking Council worlds was no longer profitable or safe. On Earth, President Jake Morrison watched the report from the Quellen operation with satisfaction. "That's the 3rd raider group we've stopped this month," He noted to General Kate Sullivan. Yes, sir. Word is getting around. Piracy is down 40% across Council space. The raiders are learning that it's not worth the risk. Morrison nodded. Earth's involvement with the Galactic Council was working out better than expected. Human ships provided security, but Council members contributed in other ways. The Aiellas shared their advanced medical technology. The Quellans provided their expertise in food production. It was a true partnership, not just Earth protecting everyone else. What's the status of our colony program? Morrison asked. Ahead of schedule, sir. We now have settlements on 4 worlds within our claimed space. Population is growing. We're also receiving applications from some alien species who want to live in human territory. That was unexpected but welcome. Some aliens, particularly refugees from collapsed empires, saw Earth's controlled space as a safe haven. Morrison had approved limited immigration, allowing aliens to settle in human territory if they followed Earth laws. At Genesis 1 orbital station, Ambassador Laura Martinez hosted a diplomatic reception. Representatives from 30 different species mingled, sharing food and conversation. It was remarkable how quickly this had become normal. Just months ago, most humans had believed they were alone in the universe. Martinez spoke with Counselor Tarvin, who had become a regular visitor to Earth. Counselor, I wanted to thank you for your help with the colony charters. Your legal expertise has been invaluable. Tarvin's expression, which humans were learning to read, showed pleasure. It is we who should thank you, Ambassador. For the first time in my lifetime, the galaxy feels safer. Aggressive empires are withdrawing. Trade routes are opening. It is a golden age, made possible by Earth's presence. We're just trying to do what's right, Martinez said modestly. That is exactly why you are succeeding, Tarvin replied. Other powerful species use their strength for conquest. Earth uses its strength for protection. That is the difference. Not far away, Dr. Lisa Warren spoke with a group of alien scientists. They were discussing the upcoming joint research project, a collaboration between human and council scientists to develop better medical technology. Warren had been surprised by how eager aliens were to work with humanity. They saw human innovation as something special, worth learning from. Dr. Warren, an alien scientist named Colvin, asked, "How did your species develop quantum shielding? Our civilization has been trying to crack that problem for 3 centuries. Warren smiled. We had an advantage. We studied crashed alien technology, yes, but we also had something else. We had multiple teams competing with each other. Human nations may have cooperated on the Aurora project, but within it, different groups raced to achieve breakthroughs first. Competition drove innovation. Fascinating, Colvin mused. Perhaps we have been too unified in our approach, too comfortable. It was a common theme in conversations between humans and aliens. Most galactic civilizations had achieved internal unity long ago. They had one government, one culture, one way of thinking. It made them peaceful, but also stagnant. Earth, with its diversity and competition, had kept pushing forward. On the moon, at the expanded lunar base, Major Alex Turner trained new pilots. The Earth Defense Force was growing rapidly. More ships were being built. More personnel were being recruited. Earth needed to maintain its strength while also fulfilling its commitments to the Council. Listen up, Alex told his class of 20 trainee pilots. You're going to be flying the most advanced spacecraft in the galaxy. That comes with responsibility. We don't use our power to bully. We use it to protect. Remember that, and you'll do fine. The trainees, fresh from Earth's military academies, listened with intense focus. They knew they were part of something historic. Humanity's first generation of galactic peacekeepers. Admiral Ben Carter, now commanding all Earth Defense Force operations, reviewed the latest intelligence reports. His office was on Genesis 1, giving him a view of both Earth and the stars beyond. The view never got old. Colonel Pete Harris entered with new information. Admiral, we've received a formal request from the Galactic Council. The Vortan Collective has been making aggressive moves toward a small independent world called Trelvar. The locals are asking for protection. Carter studied the data. What's our assessment? The Vortans have a fleet of about 50 ships in the area, not as large as the Krithian force that attacked us, but still significant. They're using economic pressure right now, but intelligence suggests they're planning a military takeover. And Trelvar? Population of about 2 billion. No military to speak of. They're primarily traders and farmers. If the Vortans invade, they'll have no chance. Carter made his decision. Contact the Vortans. Tell them Trelvar is under Earth's protection. Any military action will be met with immediate response. Then, send the Titan and 4 support vessels to Trelvar space. We'll make our presence very clear. It worked. When the Vortan collective saw Earth ships arrive in Trelvar space, they immediately withdrew their fleet. There was no battle, no confrontation. Just the presence of human ships was enough. Clue. Vortans, like other former aggressors, had learned that the cost of conquest was now too high. Trelvar's government expressed profound gratitude. They offered Earth trade agreements, resources, even a permanent base in their system. Carter accepted the trade deals but declined the base. "We're not occupiers," he told them. "We're just making sure you have the freedom to choose your own future." Back on Earth, the public was adjusting to the new reality. Children learned about alien civilizations in school. Universities offered courses in xenobiology and galactic history. The economy boomed as trade with alien worlds brought new technologies and resources.